How's it going, everybody, and welcome back to the Two Summers podcast. My name's Corvy, and I'm joined always with Papa Pike. How we doing, dude?
Yeah, good, man. How you doing?
Fantastic.
Been a bit song
this week. No, we're not doing the song. We're not doing the song.
Look out, guys! It's Corvy and Pike. Corvy and Pike are on the case.
All right. Thank you, Pike.
You're welcome.
Today we have a big one, guys. We've gone through OC. We had Hysterics last week, which was a fantastic interview. This week, with LCO wrapping up, we are joined by none other than Carbon, which is huge.
Yeah, let's just jump straight into it. I think. What do you think, Corvy?
Yeah, sure, man. We'll just jump down now. I think I saw him just join.
In 3, 2, 1.
And we're back, guys, and we're joined with Carbon. How we doing, man?
Good, mate. Good. How are you guys?
Oh, fantastic, dude. I live the dream every day. What are we talking about? Fantastic to have you on. We seem to have been slowly going through everyone. We had Hysterics on last week, Maximized before, and finally the big dog himself, you, Mr. Menu Log Man, Carbon himself.
That's a esteemed list of people to follow. I'll do my best.
Oh, no, you were the pinnacle. Pike and I, when we started season 2, were like, we're going to move into doing some more interview. We want to talk to players, coaches, team managers, people on the cast, and then one of the last kind of people we were wanting to talk to is you. So honestly, if our goals have been met, you're it, dude.
That's
Thank
it.
you. Oh, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
I know when we first started, it was we started when it was like very fresh. We were like, how do we want to run this? And then it got to the point where we're like, we just want to get every single person who has some affiliation to LCO onto this just for a chat. And I remember one of the first, I was just like, we get Carbon, Corvy, we get Carbon. He's like, hey, he's too much of a big dog to come on, man. He's too big. I'm just like, we can get him, dude. It wouldn't be hard. He's going to reach out. And then because we got a couple other names, we're just like, oh, look, I think it's possible. There's a chance. And Corvy's like, yeah, all right, let's do it. And that's when he reached out. And we're just like, oh shit, it's happening.
Yeah, man. I'm happy to. I'm happy to do whatever. I just like talking about League. Yeah, there's people who want to talk about League. Like, I'm down to talk about League. At the end of the day, like, really, I'm just a big League fan. All the other stuff aside, I just want to watch good League. I want to watch entertaining League, and I want to watch programs that are like League adjacent.
Fair enough. And with that, we can move into, do a quick intro for us, for those who don't know that are listening. Who are you? How'd you get started in League? Stuff like that. What do you do in LCO?
Sure. So I am Carbon, Tim. I'm a long time League of Legends person, I suppose, in Oceania. I got my start playing Pro League a long time ago, about 10 years ago now. I played Pro League for maybe 3 or 4 years, and then I retired. I had my own team, Legacy Esports, which I used to run. I sold that to the Adelaide Crows at the same time as I retired, and then they sort of hired me to continue running it. So sort of moved from player to I was the head of esports, but I was just basically ran the org. I did that for probably another 5 years, and then about 2 years ago, just finished my second year as the product manager or the league manager for the LCO. So I've sort of gone from pro player to team owner to working on the league itself. So I've sort of just ticking every box there is to do with league.
Well, I actually had no idea that you owned. I did my research. I didn't know you owned Legacy and sold it off. That's super interesting to me.
Yeah. So. I mean, it just kind of happened naturally, as in Legacy was a team that we started just with like the players at the time, because we just didn't really see the point in being with an org. We were like, well, back then you didn't really get paid anything anyway, so it was like, what was the point? Might as well just start our own thing. But I just so happened that I was sort of the oldest of the group, and nobody really wanted to deal with the paperwork so much, and so it just sort of fell on me. And then sort of, the more I did, the more you kind of become the guy who does the paperwork and the stuff. But yeah, so we sold it in 2017.
Interesting.
And yeah, I continued running it afterwards.
How did you find League originally? Because you would have started playing early days. You went pro 2013, 2014. Did you find League of Legends?
I played StarCraft 2 a fair bit and they had like a League mod, a Dota mod, basically. It was like Dota recreated in StarCraft. It was called Storm of the Imperial Sanctum, SOTUS, and it had its own like little community. And I played a lot of StarCraft 2, and then I was like, oh, I'll check out, like, I don't know, just like mucking around custom games as you do. And I don't know, just something about it just really stuck out to me. I was like, shit, this is really fun. Like, and it had its own community and stuff. And anyway, so I played that for a little bit, and then eventually League came out. I didn't play League from beta. I didn't play from the start, but I think like season 1, like officially started or whatever. And all the people I was playing SOTUS with, they were like, oh, we're moving to like this other game. It's like this, but it's like it's its own game. I had never heard of Dota, by the way, while this was all happening. So like, it's its own game. And I was like, oh, that sounds amazing, like this, but an actual game. Like, let me check that out. And that was it. Basically, I played from like season 1 onwards. I'm still playing now, so.
That's an awesome. I think you're actually the first person we've had that actually came from like StarCraft or a like game. Like everyone else is sort of just like, I just started in like beta or I started season 1. Like you're like pre-beta, which is, you don't get pre-beta, so that's an awesome. Like that's amazing.
Yeah,
come you're old, man.
Yeah. It helps being a bit older than
I
I guess.
Say it like that.
That's all good, man. Yeah, basically. I mean, I know plenty of people who came from Dota across the League or vice versa. Well, not so much vice versa, but like, yeah, that was it. I played StarCraft at university and then moved across the League sort of when season 1 started, or like halfway through season 1, and just loved it, man. It was just so much fun. It was so different, and yeah.
I think you're also the first guest that have been playing slightly longer than me, because I started halfway through season 2, and some dude in high school was just like, oh, we should. No. I found it through like some Normal Boots video I was watching ages ago. And so I started season 2. You're actually the first one that started like before me, so that's super interesting. Have these people on that are just like, oh yeah, I started in like season 4. I've played pro. I'm like done now, and I'm just like hard stuck plat still. So that's great.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. It's one of those things, man. I was just addicted. Like it was.
I guess super obsessed,
secret, man. I was just a fucking addict. And you do a thing a lot and you get good at it. That's just sort of what it is.
So from your early starts in League, how'd you get moving into wanting to play pro? Were you watching you play StarCraft? Were you watching StarCraft Esports and you saw League Esports and wanted to get pro from that?
No, not really. I played StarCraft for fun, which is, I was never really into like the esports side of StarCraft. I like StarCraft content. I liked, like Day 9. I liked Day 9 a lot. Everybody did back then. But yeah, I wasn't really into esports. I didn't really know what esports was. I wasn't I didn't play a lot of the major titles growing up. Like I didn't play like CS growing up, or like WoW, or like any of those really big titles. I didn't play. I was like a Nintendo kid mostly. I just like played like platformers and just like bullshit party games for fun. StarCraft was sort of the first one where I was really like, it was really like a competitive game that I was playing. But yeah, League Esports, I really just fell into, man. Like I said, I was playing it a lot. I remember watching like season 3 Worlds, or I think it was season 3 Worlds, and just being like totally blown away. I couldn't believe. I remember how old I would have been. I would have been like 20 maybe, or 20, 21. And I remember like tell my dad, being like, dude, that there's like a full stadium full of people and they're like playing this game that I play. Like, it's so weird. Like, how is that even possible? Right? I was just like totally blown away. And then like the very next year, I just kept playing, and I think I had hit rank 1 during that season. Someone just reached out and was like, hey, have you ever thought about doing this? Yada yada. And I thought, no, but shit, I'll give it a crack. So
stumbled into Mind Freak from that, yeah.
Yep. So I played on Mind Freak. I played for Avant Gaming back then for a little bit as well. Both sort of around the same time. But yeah, I did play on Mind Freak for a little bit. Fun fact: the Overwatch caster, Mitch Leslie Uber. He's like a long time Overwatch caster. Yeah, he was actually my manager. He was actually like the team manager at the time for our team. Yeah, he was an awesome dude. I loved hanging out with him. I'll never forget. I think the first ever sponsorship meeting I went into, like the first ever sales pitch I went into, was with him. We went into like a media agency in the city together. It's a very cool memory for me. being like, what are we talking about, man?
That's sick. So actually that ties in really nicely about the memories. Like, we want to talk about your time with Legacy and stuff too. Do you have any like your favorite memories, I guess, with your time with that team? Is there any in particular moment?
Yeah, favorite memories were really all like, I think event related. I loved going to events. I loved, especially in the early days, Riot. We're investing a lot of money, but also a lot of time, and like the fandom was really strong. It was just like the hot thing, and like you would go somewhere and people were just so excited to talk about League with you. And Riot always did a really good job of like putting on the event, making sure everybody felt welcome, and taking care of us in terms of like logistics and accommodation and stuff. So like a lot of my really good memories are like, going to an event, either while I was playing, like with my friends, or even after I retired. Going to an event. That's what always really like re-energized the passion for me. You can get a bit weighed down, I think, when you're just like doing the League thing, as in like, you read the discourse, you play the game, you read the discourse, you play the game, you watch the stream, you read the discourse. Yeah, no. And you kind of get, but then like, that can kind of weigh you down. But yeah, going to events is always like super rejuvenating. It's awesome.
Do you still get that feeling like on current
Yeah,
events?
man.
Like, you still get the same vibes?
For sure. Yeah, man. I will say like, so I attended the PCS playoffs in Split 1 with the LCO teams, just as like a sort of a player handler. And yeah, man, even being there, and that wasn't like a Worlds or a big huge LAN or anything like that, but just the energy, man. You're just with these people who are super driven and like they're super passionate about this thing they're trying to accomplish, and you get to witness that. You get to be a part of that. You get to sort of experience it secondhand, and it's awesome.
Especially when you've made that journey yourself, and you get to see the next generation of a game that you love step into the same shoes that you once stood in, and just like achieving stuff as well. I would love to be around that kind of energy. The first, like in the earlier days, the first time I actually went to an event would be like DreamHack last year. So that was my first live event. That was mad. I really wish I went to way more. Oh, I loved it, man. I loved it. It was so good. You don't know. We're best friends. You probably don't know. We got a photo together. You totally remember it. Yeah.
No, I do remember.
Oh, yeah, of course you did.
Yeah.
100%. It's like core memory of the whole event.
Yeah.
You know,
it was the highlight of my DreamHack.
Yeah, I thought it was sick. I really enjoyed it, but I think it was more that I had that built up want to meet all the people that I was talking to, because I was in the amateur scene for a while, did work with Gravitas, and I just wanted to go out and actually do some stuff, especially being trapped inside for a couple of years, and with Riot leaving, it was a big wake up call. It's like, shit, I may have missed my opportunity to meet these guys in person. So when the first event came up, I'm just like, I'm 100% going, and it was mad. So yeah, you guys did a really good job.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad we got to put it on for you guys. It's awesome to have big league events like that still, and the spectacle of the event aside, it's such a good opportunity for the community to get together. I think that, like for me, events are such a big part of it. When you get to talk to people, you can feel what it means to them, it's a place for people to meet up with people they haven't seen in some time. And it's a really special feeling, I think, beyond just like the flashing lights and the screaming casters.
Yeah. How was the view party though in comparison? I know that, well, myself, I was pretty disappointed I couldn't go, but how was it in person?
It was good, man. It was fun. People had a really good time. There was content throughout, as in you guys wouldn't have seen, but like in between the breaks of the games. At the watch party, they were doing like trivia and like photo walls and all sorts of stuff for the people to do. It was a really good time. Yeah, I was lucky I got to go. Actually, for a while, I was like, I'm going to be stuck in Melbourne. I have to work the event. But I got to go. It was awesome.
Yeah, that's so good. I know. I got to go to the Bliss party that they were putting out, and HQ, and that was hella fun too. It's actually so funny. My partner got a photo up on the LCO, and you just have my back's turned though. And I was just like, oh man, I'm so pissed. I was like, I could have been in that. She's just taking this awesome selfie. Everyone's in it doing thumbs up, and I'm talking to someone behind me going like, yeah. And the only reason I knew is, one, I was sitting next to her, and two, I was wearing the LCO beanie, and I was just like, that's my damn beanie. I'll take it.
Yeah. Turned around, man.
I shouldn't have turned around. I didn't know.
Should have turned around, man.
Too many people that I know that were trying to get my attention. Frustrating. Hard being so popular.
I was going to say, yeah.
So leaving LCO, retiring. Before everything happened with OC and Riot leaving, you also dabbled a little bit into casting. How was that? How was moving from player into more production? Did you enjoy that?
Yeah, I loved it, man. I loved it. I was at a crossroads, I suppose, at a certain point where just previous to when I retired, because sort of rumor had been going around that I was thinking about it, and the lead producer for the show had asked me like, hey, if you're not going to play next year, we'd love to have you on the show full time, blah 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 blah. Think about it, because I used to do a lot of guest spots. Like they had me doing guest spots like all the time, and I really enjoyed doing them. So there was sort of it was like I had the option to continue playing, because when I retired, it wasn't like I could have easily played. I think that the split before I finished second.
The GOAT.
and second, and then the next split I finished third, and then I retired. So it wasn't like I couldn't continue playing if I didn't want to. So that was an option. And then casting was an option, or just to continue running the business. Or rather like, I would have sold the business and done one of those other options, or like sell the business and continue running it. And I don't know, man. Casting, I loved casting, but it just, at the time, it didn't seem like there was a ton of longevity in it. I don't know. I just thought, at the time, I thought, look, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I don't know if the game is going to stick around. I don't know, if I do casting, what am I going to do after casting? As in, like, I've got my career will have been, professional gamer, professional commentator. Like, what do I do after that if this all falls apart? I was always keenly aware that it wasn't going to last forever, and then it has. Like, it's been 10 years since I started doing this, but the whole 10 years, I always thought like this is going to stop next year. It can't, it can't go on. Like, this can't be. It's too good. But so. I loved casting, but to me, it just made more sense to go into like sort of the business side of esports, because I was like, well, worst case scenario, at least I developed some skills that are maybe useful in another industry. But I loved casting, man. I love casting. I love being on the desk. It was so much fun. And in retrospect, I think, if I had done that and like pursued that the last however many years, I think I probably would have been happy now anyway. You know what I mean? Like, I think it was kind of like it was going to work out either way.
So the crossroads, you would have probably ended up being just as happy either way.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Like,
it's a pretty positive way of looking at it, man. Especially like looking back and not regretting the fact you didn't stick in like a particular field, or like hone your craft a little bit more on one thing. It's pretty healthy to look back and be like, look, I could have probably stuck with it, but I did this thing and I worked out pretty good. If I did that, it probably would have worked out pretty good.
Yeah. I don't know where I saw it, but it's like, do it or don't. Like, you'll regret it either way. You know what I mean? Like, if you do it, you'll regret not doing the other thing. If you don't do it, you'll regret never having done it. So that you got to have to make choices, and that's just what it is. You don't get a second go. I'm fortunate, of course, super fortunate that like what I chose worked out. I think, there are a number of casters who went on to do like really awesome things, who are like sort of my peers at the time, who have gone on to either work at teams or, continue casting. And these were all guys that I came up with at the time. So I'd like to think that I would have followed a similar trajectory if I decided to do the same thing, sort of similar, a little bit of like with Ejim. I think he would have followed. I think I would have followed probably a similar path to him, although I would have quit a little bit earlier.
His casting's taken him quite a long way.
Yeah. I mean, they wanted him over in Korea. He was supposed to cast in Korea. Never happened. He decided to pursue other things. God bless him. But no, he was great. I mean, all the casters were great, really. You look at all those casters that came up around that same time, and Papa Smithy, Pastry Time, Atlas, Spawn, Ejim. I mean, Rusty's still with us now, but a lot of those guys, like, have been made casting their careers.
Well, I want to move on to some more like nitty-gritty stuff. This is really interesting to me, especially a peek behind the curtain. We spoke to Hysterics a little bit as well about what's going on with when Riot left and the communication. If you were working inside the broadcast studio at the time as like a caster or manager or whatever you're doing at the time, how was the communication between Riot and you guys when they decide to, pack up?
Oh, okay. All right. And Hysterics had something to say about this, did he? I have to go back and watch it.
Yeah, well, he spoke that it was pretty lackluster.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we didn't have a ton of heads up. I remember it was especially difficult for me at the time because we had just finished Worlds and we had just come back and I was doing my second round of quarantine. So because we were traveling during COVID, to attend Worlds, we first had to do 2 weeks quarantine in China, but then we also had to do 2 weeks quarantine when we arrived back. So I was away for about 6 or 7 weeks, but I spent 4 of those weeks in quarantine, like in a hotel room on my own. And I think it was like I had landed back in Australia. I was like 3 or 4 days into quarantine, and they had just kind of dropped the bombshell like, this is happening. We're announcing it like later today or tomorrow or whatever it was. It was just I was not in the right place to deal with that kind of news. You know what I mean? I was just like, I was so pissed that I was stuck in this hotel room, and then I got that was like pretty devastating news at the time. I was just so furious, but it's all right. We worked through it.
And to follow on that, actually, how did it go with ESL picking up a league? How did you find yourself in the position that you came into now with LCO and ESL? How did that communication happen?
LCO sort of picked up from where the OPL left off, as in they got the license. They got a license deal from Riot 2021 to get the league started again. I think Riot agreed that like there should be a league. If a league can be done, like let's have one, right? I think that makes sense. For me personally, I was still operating the team, so I was still working at Legacy while that happened. So we actually played in the 2021 season. But while that was happening in the background, we had been working on selling the club. So probably for most of 2021, we were actually working on selling Legacy. And then that news became public at the end of 2021. When that happened, the LCO sort of reached out and they were like, look, we're looking for somebody to help manage the league, sort of from a more product perspective. So like, because I had obviously so much intimate knowledge of League of Legends and the way that the teams and the players all operate, and I had a lot of personal relationships, etc. They thought I'd be a good fit to help manage some of those people, and I agreed, and I was pretty fortunate that they invited me on. And then I've just been trying to make the LCO the best I can for the last 2 years or so.
Done a pretty decent job,
areas, man. Not succeeding in other areas, but look.
I think decent job is a little bit of an understatement. I was literally about to be like, so we're going to start not talking about that dreary stuff and start looking to like a more hopeful bit of future here, Corvy. But mate, decent job, big undersell. You guys have done an awesome job for the LCO for the last couple of years. Like that's the fact that me and Corvy both met at DreamHacks and started this is a byproduct of LCO, right? Like we love it so much and want to be a part of it so much. We made a podcast about it. So it's like, where do you see the LCO going? Like, what's the future hold for the LCO?
Really good question. I think it would be awesome to continue putting on events like DreamHack. I think that's a really like strong part of the calendar. We've done 2 of them so far, and we've managed to fill out the seats we have both times, which has been awesome. People seem to really engage with it. So I'd love to continue doing stuff like that. Big arena events. I don't know, man. The same thing but better is the short answer. I'd love to. It's difficult, right? Because we're not part of we're not Riot. We don't decide what the international calendar looks like or how we fit into it. We do our best to lobby for good outcomes for the LCO. I'd love to see more events. I'd love to see OS get some more opportunities overseas. I'd love to see more people tune in, more people become fans of the program. it's like, yeah, there are so many ways I'd like to improve the program, but like ultimately, man, like as long as people are watching and having a good time, and when we put something on, they're keen to come. That's the most important thing to me.
Well, the product growing from like COVID into the in studio now, the interaction with chat, all of like, hey, you've done everything with like brand integration. Everything's been like really good. It's all pretty seamless. And honestly, the product that we have now from when it started, if you're saying that the plan is we want to do the same thing but better, from like, well, it's like 2 years ago when it started to now, it's definitely better. Viewership's up, like interest in the leagues. I know people are devastated there wasn't a live event, only for one reason. They really enjoy the live events. If anything, I don't know if it's just because I'm only coming into the live events of League of Legends now and being more involved into the esports scene over the last couple of years, at least at the pro level, not the amateur level. But I mean, I don't want to say that it's better than it's ever been, but I think it's great.
Yeah,
I appreciate that, man. I'm glad. Yeah, I mean, that's why we do it, right? Like, I'm glad you guys enjoy it. I'm glad that it makes me. Yeah, it's seeing people enjoy their program, engage with the program, and like, yeah, going to events and meeting other people that they're friends with, that they know, that they've met through the program, for instance. Like, yeah, those are all the reasons we do it, man. I think it's sick. I just want to watch good League of Legends played by people from this region, and all the other stuff is extra, but we're trying to make it as good as we can.
How are you liking League of Legends these days? Are you still playing as much? Is the Poppy and Nunu cranking the rift?
I don't play as much of those champs anymore because they reworked both of them.
True.
Yeah, man, I still play heaps. I mean, it comes and goes. I took it like probably like a 6-month break last year, but a 6-month break is a big deal for me. As in, for most people, it's probably not like a huge deal. As in, like, I play League and then I stop playing League and I play League and stuff. Like for me, like I never stop playing. I just love playing solo queue. Really, I just love playing League. I love watching League, and that's never changed despite like my changing roles within the space. I've always been a grinder, but yeah, it's just like some years is more than others. And last year I didn't play very much, and then this year. I've been playing. I mean, the last couple of months I've been playing a lot again, and I would say League is in a really good spot at the moment. At least in solo queue, like competitive is a bit stale. As in, like, I feel like this year has been a lot of the same champs. The game is balanced really well, as in there's lots of options, but I feel like at the same time I'm watching the same champs all the time.
Yeah.
So like it's been a bit stale in that regard. But I think in terms of playing League, it feels really good to play. Like.
Yeah, I've been saying the same thing.
Yeah, make it work.
I've definitely been saying the same thing. Solo queue now, at least as like a mid laner, feels a lot better than it was. I felt like I was so pigeonholed into only playing one thing, and the comps were super dry. It was like, like tanks or split pushes meta top. Okay, well we need to like facilitate that. I'm like on Galio duty 24/7 with like a Jarvan in the jungle, and that's just me for like forever. And then it like slowly adapts and changes. It's like it's like a 3-year period there, probably like since 2019. Maybe 2018, where it just like, I don't know, it felt really weird to play. I was still playing every year because I'm blisteringly obsessed with this game. Probably always will be. But I don't know, it just felt more of a grind than it usually does. And probably mythic and legendary items coming into the game really made it a lot more interesting. So someone who has been playing as long as I have, what would be your favorite season? How does it compare to normal day league? Like regular nowadays league.
Yeah, it's a hard question to answer because it's like, rose-tinted glasses, I think you remember the ones you had the most fun in, but that's like a combination of where you were in your life and yada yada. Personally for me, like I think it's tough, man. I think season 3 and season 4 were really fun. They were a lot of fun. Felt like people were like slowly, I think for a lot of newer players, since they've joined League, people were already so good. Like if you joined in like season 7, 8, 9, I mean you're in season 12. Like, are we in season 12 or season 13?
13, dude.
13, yeah, shit, dude. If you joined like in the last 5 years, people, or I don't want to say the game is solved because it's not, but like there are so many concepts already, as in like meta and like macro concepts, and there's so much, and there's so many resources, so much content and stuff, so many different ways to learn. But like season 3 and 4, I think was like that a sort of a magical time where like people were quite bad and they were figuring a lot of stuff out. So like every tournament, every other week in like the LCS or like whatever was like innovating. People were innovating. And it was
all new plays, all new.
Yeah, it was only because we didn't know all this stuff that we know now. But like you got to remember, like coming up, it was like counter jungling as a strategy was invented. Like someone did that for the first time on stage, and we watched it. Like holy shit! Like what is that? Like that is booked. And nowadays, like counter jungling, it's like, oh yeah, jungler appears on one side of the map. Like of course you invade and like take his camps while he's not there. Like that's like it's like Jungle 101. It's the first thing you learn. And there was and all those concepts, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like all those things were invented in a sense. And I think season 3 and 4 had that, like you were playing and there was just new stuff coming out all the time. And you were just like, yeah, it was like a smorgasbord. It's like a buffet of like new league stuff all the time.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
The way that I always remember seasons is items and champions in the meta. So it would just be like Lizard Elder, Evelyn, Jungle is why I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, I also liked it. I also liked Lizard Elder Eve.
I think everyone did.
Yeah.
It was good fun. AP Master Yi. There was so much fun, wacky stuff, man.
But yeah, it was a lot wackier, for sure. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny how you remember them, right? But yeah, I think for me, season 3 or 4. But I could definitely see if someone said season 5 or 6, I could easily see why they think that, because I think it was like the same game, but a bit more fleshed out, probably a bit more balanced, and like it was starting to really come into its own.
Yeah, the new map came out around season 4-ish.
Yeah.
So
season 5.
Yeah, it would be more glossy. People coming in might have like thought that it was an actually good game, not something ripped straight from StarCraft.
Flash game, whatever. Yeah. True.
I still miss old rune pages. I literally saw that on Twitter the other day. I was just like, oh, I miss those rune pages, man. You would just buy your runes. It's already done. You'd have your AP. You'd have your AD. Don't have to worry about it. Now I've got to think about what I'm actually playing and how I'm going to play it. And
I feel like Rift. I don't know if it was better or not. It probably wasn't better. But I feel like there was more opportunities for wacky stuff. As in like, because you couldn't see runes then either. So like, for instance, something I used to do was I used to run like full AD Nunu. So it's like sort of the equivalent nowadays of like if you picture someone going like lethal tempo Nunu or something like that, or like Conqueror Nunu, like that's what I used to do. But like you couldn't see runes when you loaded into games. Like I would play Nunu and people would expect Nunu to like do a certain thing, but I would just like blood boil at like level 2 or 3 and just start beating their head in with like auto attacks, and it worked all the time. People never understood what was happening, or like why Nunu, who was just such a shit champ, was like able to do that. But it's only because of the old rune system. You could never do that nowadays. You would spawn in if you came into a game with like some wacky rune page, people would immediately be like OPGGing, like what exactly does he have, or like Googling, like YouTube, like, oh, is this some sort of like wacky build? You know what I mean? Like I had a guy yesterday in a game who played like Aftershock Varus. Was
that mid?
No, it was 80 carry. I was like, but there you go. That's exactly what I mean. Like, and then I was like, is that some sort of build? Like, you know, like, oh, you'll never believe what this Korean master player is doing with.
I saw it on TikTok. Trust me, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, there's so much of that shit. And no, he wasn't doing any of that. He was just inting, and he into the game, and I won in like 15 minutes. So that was awesome. Thank you for that. But you know what I mean? Like, you can't even like, as soon as you see it, you're immediately thinking like there must be something more to this, which it didn't used to be the case.
Yeah,
I guess that's why you mean people have solved League. There's always like, oh, this champion usually runs this. They go into this lane. This champion is an early skirmisher jungler. I'm probably going to be getting my head beat on like the first rift or something. Like,
yeah.
Now I'm going to turn the conversation back to that darker tone again. So I'm going to give Corvy the benefit and not let Corvy take care of this. I'm going to say 3 letters. I'm going to be ominous about it. 3 letters. Is there any opportunity? I know this is a question we've asked every other guest. Everyone wants to know. OCS. OCS. What is anything going to happen there?
I think, I mean, the short answer is not from us, not from the LCO. That's not to say that there won't be anything during the year, but Yeah, it's not part of our program at the moment. I think everybody recognizes that amateur is important, and I think it is important, and I think we're very lucky that groups like Avalanche have like filled that niche. But yeah, at the same time, yeah, we're doing everything in our power to make the tier 1 product sustainable, and yeah, at this stage, the OCS isn't a part of that. But that's not to say that I wouldn't love to do it if I could.
I think that was the same sort of vibe everyone sort of was feeling. Is like, if we could, we would. It's just not at that place yet, because OS is still so small. We're still progressing. We're still evolving and learning, sort of catching up to other regions and stuff too. Which I still 100% like believe in as well. It's like we're still in a good spot to keep growing and moving forward, where we're still in regards to like career and stuff, we're a baby region where we just want to keep developing who we are.
True. It's also resource management. Like we want to make sure what we have when people look OCE, we have a good league in ourselves, and if we're splitting that attention, if we're still trying to grow one thing, we split it with trying to like grow a promotion league, it might stop one league being or reaching its full potential, which is kind of fair. I still would like to see a promotion league in the future, Carbon, if that's possible. Just run Carbon's Crusaders or something.
Yeah. Like promotion relegation you're talking about, or like a
kinda. Well, not an amateur league. Like promotion relegation would be nice. Like OCS, OPL. I guess it really wasn't 1-for-1 like promotion regulation, but I think it would be good because I don't know if it would make teams hungrier, but at the moment there is like dominating teams. I guess we see a new team coming in and they're doing really well, obviously with like Bliss. Is there something where you would think about like putting some heat on the lower end teams? I don't want to say that it's tragic that they're not performing as well. Like I think we're a lot more even. I'm trying to make my words not sound as harsh as I think they're coming across. Yeah. But is there a way of having a promotion demotion kind of league?
Like it's anything is possible, but we do have like a closed system league. You need to buy an LCO slot.
Okay.
So it's not just a case of, we couldn't just remove someone for no grounds and have someone else qualify in. They would not be very happy about that if they made their way into the league. But I think as a concept, it's certainly very interesting, right? Like it does create excitement at the bottom of the ladder as well, as in you sort of get two finals. You get your playoffs, and then you get your like avoid relegation offs. There used to be promo rela in the OPL back in the day, and it was often quite exciting, but often also not, as in there were many years where like the same team was, and you had this sort of like Goldilocks team where they were like the perfect gatekeepers, but they couldn't win an actual match in the OPL. So like they were too good for OCS, but too bad to like be a threat in OPL, and they just sort of like hovered that area for a long time, winning promotions every time, but then losing every match the next year anyway. So it can kind of go both ways, I think, but it's certainly an interesting concept, and I wouldn't mind seeing it, in other leagues where it makes sense.
Yeah. I would definitely like to see it. I know I feel like everywhere has like sold spots as well, but I feel like in LEC it'll be super interesting. Korea will be super interesting, but I mean like even Korea is still, I think they're all following the same kind of model. So your idea in the future, I don't want to really put words in your mouth, but if possible, having a league that runs separately as an amateur kind of thing would be something that you guys would want to look into, or are you just not willing to commit yourself to anything?
I mean, like I said, I think amateur is important. I mean, I'm not going to make commitments on this program. Just say like, we're doing X and Y. But look, I think amateur is important. But I don't think our programming right now is in a place where we can support probably more than one league. Probably the best way to put it.
Good question, Pike. So it's in my mind, that one.
As someone who is trying to build an OCS, I'm very dedicated to this cause.
Fair enough.
Yeah, cool. Okay, I guess on top of that, we talked about teams and sort of like buy in, buy out, potentially that sort of thing. I want to touch on another slightly darker tone. Peace. How did you guys feel about that full situation? Was it sort of more? Talk us through this situation with Peace.
I mean, it was obviously regrettable. You know, I don't think that was a good outcome for anybody. Yeah, I don't really have much to add. Unfortunately, yeah, I don't think it was not good for us or for them or for their players. I would have loved to have seen them compete fully.
Yeah.
It just, you know, at a certain point, you have to take action. So,
yeah, I think that's totally fair. I think, how did the teams respond to that? Because I know that the hardest thing I know me and Corvy talked about was how it affected the overall standings and how the teams performed, and obviously that fun debate of like Chiefs versus Bliss so much now too, and how they've played 30 plus games or something together. How did the teams react to the news and how it was sort of working? Was there a bit of an upset, or did you have an idea around that?
They were in support of the decision mostly, and I think if you look at what they said publicly at the time, that will be in line with that. I think.
Oh, they were super happy.
Yeah, everybody. I mean, the reality was we had like something like 3 weeks of forfeits, you know, in a row, and that wasn't fair for anyone. And I think, I think what happened was the fairest outcome for the other teams in the league. So I can't imagine they'd be too upset with that, given how it played out.
Yeah, I think that
a little bit.
Yeah, Vertex definitely filled in a very good void. I think they've done phenomenally this split. I think what they've brought to the table has been awesome.
For sure. The playoffs in their first ever split, and made an upset as well. You know, they finished fourth, I think. So you know, that's a huge effort from them. And shout out to Styled Gian, who did a great job putting that roster together and coaching them. And he also played some games at the start of the season as well. But no, I think they've been a great addition to the league.
Do you think
a little bit teams... you go.
No, I've asked 2 questions in a row. I feel like I'm taking over. Corvy, please.
No. I was just going to a little bit of trial and error with the way that LCO was going to go with the kind of like layout. Thank you, Tim. This is how we're going to be working this split. Out of the last couple ones, which one do you like prefer running? So I think personally this split was way better than in the split last year. Just maybe a little bit short is like the only criticism. What are your thoughts? How do you like how this one ran in comparison to the others? A little bit of trial and error going on.
I liked this format. I think best of twos are interesting. You know, it allowed us to like keep the stack. You know, the thing with best of threes is like you never know if that third game is going to get played again or not. So when you're sort of planning out the schedule and a bunch of other stuff, you're always dealing with this variable. I think best of twos are nice because you still get like your series adaptation between games. You know, where okay, Team X won the first game, but Team Y made an adaptation and they brought it back. And okay, yes, maybe you don't get the resolution immediately, but I think it's a nice sort of middle ground between those. I didn't mind our split one format, to be honest. I think there definitely could have been a few improvements here and there, but we also had just the forfeits were just really unfortunate. I think they impacted. I don't think we got to see it play out the way it should have. I think it could have been an engaging. It's very similar to the LEC format. The one we ran in split one, it was just that you didn't really get to see it just because of there was just a lot of stuff going on externally with the league. I didn't mind last year. Last year it was pretty simple. It was best of one round robin, double best of one round robin, and then normal playoffs. We had a gauntlet playoffs last year. I will say I think my favorite part of this split is the playoffs. Having 6 teams in the playoffs, and then having like a weighted double elimination bracket. I think that was really fun.
Someone who likes Smash, I really like a double elim, so that was good.
Well, it's hard to pull off double elim in LoL because at the end of the day, you cannot reset the bracket like in fighting games where games only take like 15 minutes. Yes, you can reset a best of 5 at the end of grand finals, but in LoL, you just can't we don't have another 5 hours to play.
True.
You just can't do it. So it's like double elimination is kind of I think that's why Riot has not done double elimination much over the course of League's history, because like at the end of the day, when you get to the grand final, the team who's come through winners bracket really doesn't have an advantage. They get side selection in like game 1. I think in Korea for a while they were giving them 1 game advantage, so you start 1-0 up. But even then, that's just like you're just reducing the amount of games that they're going to play. You're there's less league to watch. It just team wins 2 games and then it's just over. Like you have a 5 potentially best of 5. You've got 5 hours of finals planned, and then like the one team wins 2 games and the series just ends. Like so there's just really no great way to reset a double elimination bracket in League, and I think that's why it doesn't get played much. But that's why I sort of liked this one, because it was like double chance, and then at the end, so like really the best team should come to the top, and we got to get a few more of the bottom teams involved in the
that's what I like as well.
Playoffs, it's sort of the idea in Split 1 as well, where like the bottom teams get to go to the group stage as well, so they're still involved in the competition.
We wouldn't have seen the PGG upset. We wouldn't have seen other things like that in the playoffs if not for it. So, no, I agree. I think it's good. I'm a big fan of the 2 games through the regular split. I think it's just better to watch, especially if I'm like a co-streamer and I want to sit down and I want to watch a particular team go up a particular team because they're the one I'm rooting for. I don't know if I want to watch the full like broadcast, but I definitely want to watch these games. I don't want to sit down and just like stream it for like 20 minutes with someone. I think it's better if I can like sit down, enjoy like an hour or so of League of Legends, watch these guys go red blue side, and then and then do my own thing. I think that I, as someone who like co-streamed a couple games, I enjoyed that more.
No, that's cool, man. I think for me, when we were planning it, I remembered that Europe LEC actually did this back in the day, a long time ago. They played best of 2s. I think the theory back then was just like Europeans like draws, so let's like do this. But people pushed back against it really hard because they were like, no, we want to know who the best teams are, rah rah rah. But I think I think it's probably a bit different when you have like a highly competitive product, as in like if you're like putting matches together for like Korea or like China or Europe, where people like care a lot about being good and who the best is and winning worlds, etc. But if you're like more sort of entertainment focused product, like what we are, or like maybe CB LoL, or like probably what NA should be, I think something like this can work quite well.
Are you saying that NA isn't a serious league? It's an entertainment league.
No, I'm saying they are a serious league. And they probably should be an entertainment league. Is what I'm saying.
Interesting, dude.
NA thrived when it was personalities. NA was huge when it was double lift at Reginald and the odd one, and they were all streaming 14 hours a day and then playing their matches. Like that was when NA was massive.
And game cribs were on, and so much content, man.
Exactly. But it was just, it became all about winning worlds, and teams were importing like 50,000 Koreans or whatever, and European players. And
some OCE people we can't talk shit
doing good right
on
now.
Imports because we got people in imports, like both coaches as well. Like what, Swiffer's EG coach or something?
But no, you are correct. There's plenty of them that we've shipped off who are doing quite well.
Yeah, they should stay. But what can you do, dude? Get the bag.
I'm not going to tell anyone not to take a good opportunity.
Yeah. On the side note of sort of like content, I know one thing, again, we're sort of basing all these beautiful questions off previous interviews because you're the head guy, so it's always good to get it from the head guy. Will there be any standardizations, maybe not the right word that I want to find, but to get players more involved, not only with the community, but with like content creating, working with their orgs to try and build the brand, not only LCO, but their own team brand? Is that something you guys have looked into at all?
Getting players more involved in
like LCO content or something, like getting them on, trying to get them shown. A good example of that is someone who's like breaking out and like being really engaging, not only in Twitter, but like on broadcast as well. It's super easy to make clips of him because he's just doing super stuff all the time. Like, why not? He's just turned himself into such a figure of the LCO. It's kind of hard to talk about the LCO without talking about him. Is there like something behind the scenes where we're trying to like, all right, well, let's get these, besides the interview segments, let's get these guys on, maybe give them a call, see if they want to get on and do some content.
Yeah, I mean, we try to involve them as much as we can. This split, rather, we have a bunch of players on the broadcast as guests. We tried to film content with them outside of the broadcast as well. I mean, it's challenging because we now exist in a remote play league. So, like, people live all over the country and in New Zealand. And a lot of them are doing other stuff at the same time. They're semi-professional, let's say. They're at university or they're working or doing whatever. So it's not as easy as when they were all in team houses and you sort of had access to them all the time. But certainly we do try to do a lot of that stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Let's move on to some fun League of Legends questions. Poppy and Nunu have been changed. They were my go-to. I think they're Carbon's favorite champions. What is your favorite champion this day to play in League?
My favorite champion.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. I have had a lot of favorite champions over the years. It changes. It's just with whatever I'm playing at the time. Right now, I'm having a lot of fun playing Zed. I'm playing a lot of Ravenous Hydra Zed. He's like with Ravenous
jungle?
Hydra, No, I've been playing in mid. I played him a little bit jungle as well, but people don't really like that.
Yeah. The reception wouldn't be that great, I'm sure.
But he's sort of like a cross between like a control mage and assassin now, because he has like the super wave clear from Ravenous Hydra, but also all his abilities function as like an assassin. So I think he's in a really, I don't want to say broken, but special place right now. So he's a lot of fun. I'm playing a lot of Zed.
Yes.
Second question: if you could go back to Baby Carbon starting League of Legends, and he was saying he wanted to play jungle, and you're like, no, you should play this role instead. What role would that be?
Yeah, it definitely mid. I think.
Yeah, my man.
Definitely mid or top, maybe. I don't know. I think solo. I like every role, but I think mid. I played mid and jungle together for a long time before because it used to be before role queue existed.
Yeah, it was cool.
Queuing for jungle or mid. It used to be you just had to say it, but you were expected to know every role. You were expected to know how to play anything because you had no idea who was going to be on your team. It wasn't sorted by role. It didn't try to put you with a mid laner. You could have 5 jungles on the team. It wouldn't matter. Like you were a LoL player. You weren't like a role player. You just had to play a role and play it well. So I played a lot of mid, and I think I should have played. I would have enjoyed playing the game a lot more if I stayed playing mid. I think jungle is, in my opinion, jungle is they're like the victims of League of Legends.
Yeah, I played MSM just recently with like Rue and I got allocated jungle to do that climb. Play like 50 games of jungle. I hate it, dude. I don't know how people do that.
Crazy,
I ended up playing Ivern and just hating myself.
Yeah, dude, and it messes with your mental health. I'm telling you, man. Junglers, you talk to junglers, they're all cooked. They're all crazy because of what they've had to deal with to get to where, especially high elo jungle. Because you imagine these people play thousands of games, right? That's how they're challenger. And it's just insane. There's no other role. I think the best way I can describe it is like there's no other role that will get abused for doing well. As in, if you play a perfect jungle game, right? So, it's been sort of bot meta the last little while. Bot is like the most important lane. So all the junglers playing around bot. And you might have gotten, you might gank bot, kill bot, get bot lane lead, and you might stack dragons, and you might kill mid lane. And you might bring your support up to top lane to contest Herald and get Herald, right? So you're getting everything. You're doing everything. And this is just going to be a 20-minute victory if it plays out like this, right? So you're playing incredibly. Except that what it has meant is you've had to weak side your top laner, right? Doing that means you've had to weak side your top laner to achieve all of those things, right? And so this guy is just miserable. He's he's getting ganked because the enemy jungler can't go anywhere except top, and he's just losing it. He's He's selling his items. He's calling you every name he knows. He's AFKing. This has happened to me all junglers many times. It's like, dude, just relax. I know this has not been a great experience for you, but we are going to win this game. Every other lane is winning. This is a 15-minute victory, and they will not have it. They refuse to have it. They hate you. And there's no other role in which that happens. If you're dominating mid, people love you. If you're dominating bot lane, they're jerking you off. It's like, you know what I mean? If you're dominating top, they think you're God's gift to the game. There's no other role in which you can be like totally dominating, but because of the consequence of that, you know what I mean? Like,
behavior management simulator.
He will just quit the game. That has happened to me before. Yeah. Like, this game is won. I have played, if you reviewed it with a professional coach or something, he would say like, yeah, you pretty much played this as well as you could have. You have played a great game here. And we lose because the guy just cannot handle it. And it's just that experience for 1,000 games. You know, jungle is the only role where you can play extremely well and still get told just horrible things.
Yeah,
so,
told to, yeah,
I'm not going to say it, but but that has happened to me, and it's happened to every jungler I know, and that's why junglers are so sensitive, because it's just every game you get abused, win or lose, basically.
I feel for my jungle compadres now.
For you. You got me started, and you shouldn't have. Here's a thought experiment for you. Is it possible for both junglers to play well at the same time?
Yes.
Of course, outside the game, it's possible, right? But I'm telling you, people do not believe this. If one team has won, it's jungle diff. Like, if one team beats the other team, regardless of the context of what has happened in the game, it's jungle diff. It's like, yeah, sometimes both junglers just play well and one of them has to lose. But like, people will not, they refuse. It's not possible. It's not possible.
But I don't think you understand, Carbon. Even if you're doing a good clear and you've cleared to top every single time, so it's been blue to red, and your blue camps are spawning, you need to gank top. There's no recall, reset, and start your clear again. You're ganking top right now. It's objective time.
Yeah. Jungle is just by far the worst role to play.
I hate it, man.
It's not even close. It is not even close. The only reason I started playing jungle in the first place was because I got it every game. I was a mid player, like I said, so like I would ask for, but every game it was like a type race to see who could type mid first.
That's when you just say pick order greater than call order, idiot, and you insta log new.
And eventually I was like, okay, no one ever asked for jungle, so like I should just play jungle, and then that'll be my thing. But yeah, man, I regret it to this day. It's not worth it. Shout out my junglers.
Fantastic question.
Broken hearts out there in solo queue. Playing Sigma music.
Feel your pain. I just want to give him a hug and tell him it's going to be okay.
Dude, you'll make it. We'll all make it.
Well, Carbon, I know you needed to leave at a certain time, so we don't want to hold you much longer, but as always, it's customary for me to always bestow upon a random question to both of you that no one knows, not even I know. I actually just came up with it then because it's one of those things. So my question for you both, and forewarning, they are really random. If you had to live in a TV show, anime, cartoon, which one would you pick and why?
Damn.
Granted, you can have powers. Whatever the show has, you get too.
Maybe Pokemon, because it's just like not different. But you get like cool creatures.
You could just be like just like a normal dude still, but like
I'll just have a Pikachu or something, just like hanging out.
At the same time, man, like if Pokemon were real, I think that would also just be a huge problem. Like imagine like you're trying.
I would never go in the ocean.
You know what I mean? You're trying to go to school as like an Onyx, just like crawling across the road. It's like, what are you supposed to do?
I would never go in the ocean.
I like the logic. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'd probably be boring. I'd probably pick like a normal one. I just imagine like if I was in one of those shows with powers or something like that, I would for sure not be the superhero. I'd for sure just be some dude who gets like destroyed by like a flipping random like car because Superman went through a building. You know what I mean? Like I'm dying to like blast shrapnel out the building that Superman just flew through. I'm not Superman.
You're the guy working the 9 to 5 and Superman just flies through.
That'll be me. I'll be like, I don't know. So I'm thinking like just pick any like movie that has like a normal plot with normal people in it, just like a drama. Like maybe like a sports movie or something. I'd probably be like a fan in a stadium seeing my team win. That'd be good.
Man.
Maybe like Mighty Ducks or like
imagine being at Mighty Ducks. So that's not normal. Like, that's next level. That would be. That's
LCO, but you wouldn't be in Mighty
Finals.
Ducks, dude. You'd be like, if you were lucky, you'd be like a parent or like a friend of one of the parents of the Mighty Ducks. That's like best case. That's like
Yeah,
That's as
ice
close as
sweeper
you're
after
getting
they're done.
That's as close as you're getting to the Mighty Ducks. It's like a call from your half brother being like, dude, did you know my son's playing for the American national team? It's like, oh, damn, dude, that's crazy. And that'd be the extent of it.
This is some jungler imposter syndrome shit, Carmen. Like, I wouldn't be the main character. I'd just be clearing like camps and getting abused.
Broken mental's gone to all facets of
Leave me
life.
alone, man. Just let me do my little thing. I don't want to be a hero.
What about you, Pike?
Well, my favorite show is One Piece, so I've obviously got to pick One Piece.
Oh, fair enough.
I'd also be that guy, be like, I don't have to have the powers. That's cool. I don't have to get anything. I would just be like, fuck, that dude's flying. That's lit.
I'm not a big One Piece guy, but
wow. All right,
but I
interview's
feel like
over. I'm so sorry.
well, but I feel like that's a show that you do need powers in. Like, I feel
You're
like
a normie. Yeah.
I feel like anytime, like I feel like normies are not getting the good in One Piece.
We struggle, man. You struggle. They die.
Need powers in that
Like
show,
you work for the government, you die. No matter what, you sort of just die. You have a power, you still can die.
Yeah, that's just
Yeah,
everything.
it's just everything. It's just more ocean. That's all it is. I like the beach. I'm cool with that. Like, I'm cool with that. Living on a ship though, probably couldn't do. But all right, well, thank you so much, Carvin, as we end on the crazy question. Thank you again for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure and honor having you here
man.
this evening. We will definitely have you back next series.
Okay. Sounds good.
I have so many more questions I want to ask, but that's fine. Yep. Have a good one, Carvin. Enjoy going for a drive. Sorry.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
All good.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Have a good night.